Oh Lord, look at this new Democratic strategy. They're using their paid shills to come and speak to us in the language that we want to hear. You know it's paid shills because you got Charlamagne the God tweeting this particular series of tweets I'm about to show y'all along with Questlove. We all heard what Kai Sin said recently about the Democrats reaching out to him. So we could all assume that when we see these celebrities speaking, they're getting paid to. But let's break down what they're saying. Things you niggas need to know before you vote. Good one, Kamala. Democrats. Second, Kamala Harris is in fact black. I don't know why they're trying to tell us that, but let's go into Kamala Harris's words when it comes to that when she's not running for president. Let's see what she says.
Like every other year. My grandparents were phenomenal. We would go back to India like every other year. My grandfather fought for and was a defender of the freedom of India.
Okay, so I don't know any black people that go back to India every other year. Now I know a whole bunch of black people that go down south every other year for a family reunion, but into India every other year, I don't know about that. But anyway, they're trying to convince us that she's black. Those are her words. What about here?
The Democratic Party for a very long time, not just this election cycle, has been doing a lot of active outreach around South Asians, around the API in general, and will continue to do it. I mean, what we know in particular when you're talking about the South Asian community, we're talking about the Indian community more specifically, our collective community, and there needs to be outreach and inclusion.
And certainly you could become the first Indian senator in U.S. history, which would be quite an accomplishment.
Knock wood.
You could become the first Indian senator in U.S. history, which would be quite an accomplishment.
Knock wood. Democratic.
Okay. She's calling herself Indian. Okay, Kamala Harris plays whatever side of the fence she needs to play. That's fine. So let's set race to the side. Okay, it doesn't matter what race she is. I love everybody. But let's go to her policy.
So I'm not going to sit here and say I'm going to do something that's only going to benefit black people. No. So I'm not going to sit here and say I'm going to do something that's only going to benefit black people. No.
You see her body language?
So I'm not going to sit here and say I'm going to do something that's only going to benefit black people. No.
Oh. But you want to run on being black. You're not going to do anything that fixes only black people, that helps only black people, but you're also part of a campaign that specifically targets South Asians for benefits. Also, let's go into her policy and the Biden administration policy while he was in office and she was the vice president. Fact sheet. The Biden-Harris administration advances equity and opportunity for South Asian American, Native Hawaiian, and Pacific Islander communities across the country. Oh, so you can champion policies that specific one side of your lineage, but when it comes to black people, it's...
So I'm not going to sit here and say I'm going to do something that's only going to benefit black people. No. So I'm not going to sit here and say I'm going to do something that's only going to benefit black people. No.
Those are Kamala Harris's words. All right? Let's move on. So it says here, Kamala Harris did not lock up thousands of black men. And this is what they do. They lower the argument to a small, narrow point of view. And it talks about just the weed convictions. Okay, let's talk about what about all the other things that she did? Look at this. This is from the New York Times. Lawyers for California Attorney General Kamala Harris argued in court this fall against the release of eligible nonviolent prisoners from California's overcrowded prisons because the state wanted to keep them as a labor force. She ignored the Department of Justice. Do you want a president that's ignoring the Department of Justice and civil rights statutes for overcrowded prisons? Look at another issue of hers. A judge rips Harris' office for hiding problems. This isn't me talking. This isn't a gossip blog. This is a federal Superior Court judge that basically ripped Kamala Harris when she was the DA in San Francisco for withholding evidence, which is a violation of the Supreme Court, which led to more than 600 cases being thrown out. Agenda 47 is not for your black ass. First off, why are you talking to me? You haven't said anything that's for me either way. You also said that you're not going to do anything for my black ass only. What we see here is Kamala Harris on one hand using race to get our vote, but when it comes down to doing things for us, this is her response.
So I'm not going to sit here and say I'm going to do something that's only going to benefit black people. No. So I'm not going to sit here and say I'm going to do something that's only going to benefit black people. No. So I'm not going to sit here and say I'm going to do something that's only going to benefit black people. No.
Instead of coming out with policy to right the wrong of what she said 4 years ago on the election campaign, she instead, and her administration and the Democratic Party, instead of righting the wrong and giving us policy and doing something of substance that's going to help us out, they decide to turn around and say and lie to us and give us these half-truths and then tell us things you niggas need to know before you vote. Well, this is something you niggas need to know before you vote. She ain't down with you niggas. We don't owe them our vote. We don't need to vote based on racial color lines. We don't need to vote based on how we feel. You vote to decide who's going to get what. That's what voting is about. Who is going to get what out of all of these taxes that we pay? And if they're not offering policy, if they're not offering specific things for you, you don't need to vote. Why? Because they offer specific things to other groups of people that black people are not eligible for. So if they're not offering the same to us, we don't owe them anything. As a matter of fact, like the great Dr. John Henry Clark says, black people don't owe anybody anything but an ass whooping. Remember that.